2 weeks ago, we uncovered the first 5 predictive terms that every PMP aspirant must know, and many of you were surprised by how often they actually appear on the exam. Well, guess what? The remaining 5 are just as important, and a few of them even show up in tricky scenario-based questions that most students get wrong. In this video, we'll go over those final 5 terms step by step, using simple, real-world examples that make them easy to remember. And if you'd like to get the full list of all 10 predictive terms, just drop a comment below with the words predictive list, and I'll share the complete version with you. If you missed part 1, don't worry, the link is in the description below. So, let's get started. Before we start, let me quickly introduce myself. I am Sabri C, founder of casePM Academy and instructor of the best-selling PMP Exam Prep course on Udemy. Thousands of students have already passed their exams with this course, and you could be next. Alright, let's dive in and complete our list of 10 must-know predictive terms for the PMP exam. For the PMP exam, you definitely need to know the terms constraint and assumption. An assumption is something we believe to be true when planning the project, even if it's not fully confirmed. For example, we might assume that a team member will be available to work on the project, or that the client will approve the design on time. When planning our project, we may also make assumptions for factors such as vendor delivery dates, resource performance, or the availability of necessary equipment. For example, we might assume that the supplier will deliver materials within 2 weeks. This is an assumption. Or we might assume that the testing team will complete their work on schedule. On the other hand, a constraint is something that limits what we can do in the project. For example, the project must be finished by December 15, or we can't spend more than $500,000. In project management, we can define many types of constraints in areas such as time, cost, scope, quality, resources, and risk. Among these, the schedule, cost, and scope constraints are called the triple constraints. These constraints are interdependent, meaning that if one changes, at least one of the others will also be affected. For example, if the scope increases, the cost or the time needed to complete the project will also increase. We list all the constraints and assumptions in a document called the assumption log. Therefore, in an assumption log, we have a record of all identified assumptions and constraints along with details such as their potential impact, the date they were recorded, and who is responsible for validating or managing them. The next term you need to know for the PMP exam is the issue log. An issue log is a document where we record problems that have already happened in the project and need to be fixed. Therefore, it's different from risks or assumptions because issues are real. They are things that are already affecting the project. For instance, if a supplier delivers materials late, we record it in the issue log, or if a team member leaves the project suddenly, that also becomes an issue we need to manage. In the issue log, we not only list the issues but also track them until they are resolved. Therefore, it serves as a valuable tool for ensuring clear communication among project team members. I mean, everyone can easily see what problems exist, who is responsible for solving them, and what actions are being taken. This helps the whole team stay aligned and work together to fix the issues quickly. The next term we will discuss is the Lessons Learned Register. This is a document we use to record what we learned during the project. We record things like what went well, what didn't, and what we can do better next time. Therefore, it helps the team and future projects avoid making the same mistakes and repeat what worked well. For instance, we might note that short daily meetings help the team communicate better, or we might record that unclear requirements at the start cause delays. So future projects should make sure the requirements are clear from the beginning. The risk register is the next term we will talk about. A risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it happens, can have a positive or negative effect on the project. For example, a supplier might deliver materials later than expected, which could delay the project, or a key team member might become unavailable during a critical phase of the project. A risk does not have to be negative. We also have positive risks too. We call them opportunities. A new technology might help us complete the project faster. That would be a positive risk or opportunity. Or the client might approve a design earlier than planned, allowing the team to start the next phase sooner. In the risk register, we list all identified risks, describe their possible impact, and note how we plan to respond to them. So it helps the project team stay prepared and take action before risks turn into real problems or missed opportunities. The risk register is a living document. This means it is updated throughout the project as new risks are identified or as existing risks change. So, for example, if a new vendor joins the project, we might add new risks related to their performance, or if a previously high priority risk is no longer relevant, we update the register to show that it's being closed or resolved. The last term we will discuss that you should know for the PMP exam is the stakeholder register. Just like the risk register and the lessons learned register, this is also a project document we use to record important information. Here, in the stakeholder register, we record details about the people and organizations who are involved in or affected by the project. In other words, it includes information such as each stakeholder's name, role, level of influence, interest in the project, and how we plan to communicate or engage with them. For instance, we might record that the project sponsor has a high level of influence and a strong interest in meeting the project deadline, while an end user might have a low level of influence but high interest in how the final product functions. Stakeholders are important because their support and involvement can greatly influence the success or failure of the project. If key stakeholders are not informed or engaged properly, it can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, or resistance to project decisions. This makes the stakeholder register an important communication and management tool because it helps the project manager and team understand who their stakeholders are and what they care about most. So, by using this document effectively, we can build better communication, manage expectations, and increase the chances of project success. So, these were the remaining 5 predictive terms you need to know before taking the PMP exam. Together with the first 5 from part 1, you now have a complete list of the 10 must-know predictive terms that often appear in the exam. If you'd like to get the full list as a downloadable summary, just comment predictive list and I'll send it to you. And if you haven't watched part 1 yet, make sure to check it out here. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, subscribe and stay tuned for the next video where we will dive into key agile and hybrid terms that are just as important for the PMP exam.